Not great by my intention, you know, only great by invention. I tell you, he thought of me and created me like a seed that was planted with everything that I needed to be a tree. So yeah, I thank God I grew. It's like a rose from concrete blossom. It's hard to do. I made it through, and I'm willing to bet that I'm the best because I trust only the instructor to help me pass the test. God help me get it. I got a gift now, watch me give it. You ask, what is it? I'll make it vivid. A gift wrapped in these lyrics, a bomb trapped in these lyrics. You'll scream, I rap when you hear it. I rap in fact for the feeling I'm feeling within my spirit. Say it because I hear it. You say it because you hear it. Repeat it because you feel it. Then live it just because you mentioned it. I spit these lyrics really hoping that you listening, but I'm no prophet. I'm just clay. He put intentions in. Y'all listen, if you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, then your body works. And if your body works, you have everything you need to win. Peace, family. I'm Yusha Assad, recording artist, speaker, master certified professional coach, welcoming you to another drop of truth, discipline, and intentional alignment. This is Working and Winning with Great Care, where we don't just strive to do great things. We strive to do all things with great care, purpose, and intention. Listen, the goal, y'all, ain't to win. The goal is to win right. Not just to win, but to win right. Every week, y'all, I pull up to share what I'm learning, what I'm practicing, what I'm challenging myself and you to walk out in real life. This ain't performance. This is practice. This is presence. And this is how we build what God intended. So wherever you are, at your job, on a walk, in your car, wherever, tap in. Let's work and win.
I'm a recording artist, motivational speaker, master certified professional coach, and I do a lot of different things. I got to this place because I was somehow willing to believe that I could create a future that hadn't been seen yet.
This is dope, though. I love it, bro.
Right? When you hear all of the different things that I do, I've been told in my life, you do too much. And I'm glad to say that I did not follow those thoughts and allow that to hinder me from what I do. God gave me 5 things: speaking, teaching, coaching, training, and performing.
All right, y'all, today's topic is called Building New Beliefs in People, a framework for growth and transformation, right? So in this episode 7 of our first season, Working and Winning with Great Care, today's topic is Building New Beliefs in People, a framework for growth and transformation. This episode, y'all, dives into what I call my business coins as hope building. We talk about what it is, how building beliefs and implementing them strategically can transform schools, and how adverse forms of this work keeps our schools and communities stuck in vicious cycles. This episode is essentially about reconditioning minds to influence positive behaviors that lead to improved outcomes. To fully understand this work requires the lens of what I call social impact campaigns, aka advertising, or what I call reverse advertising. But let's first recap last week's conversation, which was the effect of hope on student success. This was the beginning conversation about the hope campaign, measuring hope. So last week, y'all, in the episode, the effect of hope on student success, measuring the hope of others. In that episode, y'all, we broke down how hope shows up in 4 quadrants. For those who believe but don't care, to those who both believe and burn with desire. And just like a farmer planting seeds, our job, y'all, is to cultivate the right environment for people to grow. Sometimes that seed takes years to bloom, but the harvest always comes. We've all seen what happens when hope is missing, y'all. Students disengage, leaders get stuck, and communities lose sight of their future. But when belief and desire are nurtured, you get transformation. Whether it's the quiet student hiding in the back, the disruptive kid masking his struggle, or the high achiever pressing forward, each one of them is asking us to see their hope and help rebuild it. That's the work. That's the call. We don't just want people to succeed, y'all. We want them to hope boldly enough to see themselves bigger and to desire deep enough to walk it out. Now, back to this week. Once again, building new beliefs in people, a framework for growth and transformation. Now, let's start with a little finish my statement. And wherever you are, I'm going to start a phrase or tune, and I just want you to finish it if you know it. Number 1. Ba-da-da-da-da. The next one says, like a good neighbor, This next one, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. There we go. Number 3, at Subway, you should be able to eat what? Subway tell you can eat what? And then the last one, because I could do a lot of them, but the last one is, at Arby's, we have ... So most of you were able to complete my statements, right? But the question is why? Why do you know these things, right? Yeah. Well, why do we know this, right? They put it in our minds. They repeatedly use TV, radio, entertainers, influencers, and experiences you have with their business to embed these slogans in us. So here's a better question to help you understand. What are these companies selling, right? So some of us are going to say McDonald's is selling burgers. They're selling shakes, fries. About State Farm, we're going to say State Farm is selling insurance, different forms of insurance. We're going to say that Subway is selling subs and salads. We're going to say Toys R Us was selling toys, and Arby's is selling roast beef sandwiches. And the reason why we believe that this is what they're selling is because this is what our money pays for. But this is actually, but this is not what they spend all of their marketing dollars on. These businesses are selling beliefs. They are spending all of their money on getting you to believe their slogan, right? McDonald's wants you to believe that people love the food. And once you get there, they want you to find something that you love, right? I'm loving it. It may not be the burger for you. It may be the fries or the apple pie, the McFlurry, etc. There's something there that you love. Subway wants you to eat fresh, right? And they tell you that you eat fresh here, right? But we know we're going to say that they sell subs because that's what we spend our money on. But no, they're selling us on an idea that you can eat fresh here. So for those of us who are a little older, we remember those days where you would go to Subway and get them fresh cookies. Subway at one point was selling pizzas, all right? So companies know that once they can get you invested in the belief of their company, once they can get you invested in their belief, they can sell you anything. So they're not spending their marketing dollars on selling their product. They're really spending their marketing dollars on selling their beliefs. And then using repetition and conditioning to get you to remember that belief and then instill that in your heart. Y'all, building new beliefs in people is all about using the same techniques used by these businesses to impress the belief upon the minds and heart of our people. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, here at With Great Care, we call this work social impact campaigns for schools. Now, what is this strategy? It is the process of using language, visuals, and intentional experiences to influence the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors of others. For businesses, y'all, it's to increase sales. For parents, it may be to improve the overall quality of life for your children. For schools, it may be to increase attendance, academic competition, testing scores, improve behavior, or a sense of belonging. For administrators in schools specifically, it may be to improve teacher attendance, buy-in, and performance, and then ultimately to decrease teacher turnover or staff turnover. But before we dive more into what it is, let's talk more about why it is important, because this is the key. The technique, y'all, of using language, visuals, and intentional experiences to instill beliefs in people so that you can influence or control their behavior is happening every day around us. And too often, it shows up in adverse ways for Black and brown communities and for those from low socioeconomic backgrounds, both in America and around the world. When I'm speaking with principals, deans, and administrators in schools while pushing this work of building what I call social impact campaigns, the most important things that I want to impress upon the urgency is impressing upon them the urgency of counteracting what's happening to Black and brown youth and to Black and brown teachers every day in school. Now, the reason why this is important because companies know to sell you a belief, but schools have one of the best products in the world. It's education, it's opportunity, it's learning. The thing is that most schools, most educational institutions don't understand that missing piece of marketing, conditioning, and pushing a belief to students. So schools just believe, hey, we got this great product. You're supposed to show up and just dive in. But that's not how it works. And that's not how psychology actually works. So schools are often, especially those in our inner city, are missing this piece. And this is what I'm showing up in schools trying to offer. To fully understand why I fight for this work so hard, y'all, we have to connect a few dots. In the business world, this work is called advertising, right? In the media and political world, it's called propaganda. Right. So regardless of the label, the technique is still the same. Tapping into people's five senses, telling them a story you want them to believe, and then creating visuals and experiences that reinforce that belief, whether it's true or false. Right. And in most cases, It isn't always true. But here's one thing I want you to remember. Once you believe it, it does become true for you. Remember that. Once you believe it, it does become true for you. So let's start by examining advertising, and then we'll compare, right? So advertising refers to the process of creating promotional messages to a community of people with the aim of influencing their behavior, attitudes, and decisions. These messages are typically shared through various media channels such as television, radio, print, publications, websites, social media platforms, and outdoor displays. The primary goal, y'all, of advertising is to sell products, services, ideas, or brands through persuasion. Advertising often uses creative strategies, right, including visual imagery, storytelling, and emotional experiences to capture the attention and interest of the community and ultimately drive them to do what they want them to do, such as make a purchase, visit a website, support a cause, or believe a truth or a lie. Now, I want y'all to know that I'm not just talking outside of my head. And Shearer brings up the concept of brain-based learning. So I want to tell you what more research says about this, right? This is psychology. I also went to school for business. I went to school for marketing at Winston-Salem State University. I took classes on psychology, and I taught in Black and brown communities where I saw rappers have a more distinct impression upon students than teachers because of how much they consumed the information. I also grew up in America. So, right now, research confirms this. Advertising leverages neuroscience, consumer psychology, and emotional triggers to influence behavior in ways people don't always recognize. And when these strategies cross the line, lawsuits follow. So here's an example. Burger King is actually facing a false advertising lawsuit for making Whoppers appear 35% larger in ads than in reality. Why? Because people saw those Burger King ads and wanted to go get a Whopper, right? It created an emotional trigger in them. FanDuel is being sued by Baltimore for predatory marketing that targets vulnerable people with free bets, right? They offer you free bets. They get you in, they get you locked in, and then they take your money. ExxonMobil is being sued by California for greenwashing, right? Falsely advertising plastics as recyclables, right? And then historically, tobacco companies were forced into massive settlements after decades of deceptive ads that denied the health risk of smoking. These cases and studies, y'all, validate the truth that advertising isn't neutral, right? It's a scientific and strategic tool, whether used by corporations, governments, or media to build belief systems and move people to action. Sometimes it's to sell a product, but often it's to sell a lie or belief. Now, y'all, let's dive into propaganda. And the reason why we dived into advertising first, because I want you to see how businesses are using this strategy that I'm speaking about. Now, let's talk about how governments, institutions, and even religious institutions use this. They use a word called propaganda, right? It ain't necessarily called advertising for them. It's called campaigns or propaganda. Propaganda is information that spreads to shape people's opinions, beliefs, or behaviors, often in a biased, misleading, or one-sided way. Propaganda is all about influencing how people think and act, especially in politics, religion, or social movements. It uses powerful images, slogans, and emotions to persuade, sometimes by exaggerating the truth or leaving out important facts. Now, here's the truth. Advertising, y'all, if we compare the two, advertising and propaganda are two sides of the same coin. Both are intentional strategies to shape human behavior, often without people realizing it. Advertising sells products, services, or ideas by using visuals, emotions, and storytelling. Propaganda, especially when deployed by governments, uses the same playbook, language, imagery, and fear to push people towards compliance or belief. In both cases, the aim is control, moving people to act, buy, or believe in a particular way. More research. During the COVID-19 pandemic, U.S. and local governments leaned heavily on fear-based messaging to encourage vaccine uptake. Research shows officials use behavioral science tactics like urgency, emotional appeals, right? And here's an emotional appeal that they use. They said, protect your family. And fear framing, and here's a fear frame that they use, the pandemic of the unvaccinated, right? They use these tools, urgency, emotional appeal, and fear framing, that parallel how corporations advertise. Such as with consumer advertising, these messages was tied to human senses and emotions, designed to build belief and drive action. While health agencies later updated or revised guidance as adverse side effects emerged, the strategy itself was consistent with advertising to tell a story, repeat it across all channels, and reinforce it until people accept it as truth, right? And I want y'all to hear that again because that's the process. Tell a story, repeat it across all channels, reinforce it until people accept it as truth. This parallel also makes a clear point, y'all. Whether it's Burger King exaggerating a Whopper, ExxonMobil greenwashing plastics, or FanDuel using predatory betting ads, or governments pushing vaccine compliance, the mechanism is the same. Advertising and propaganda are both structured systems of persuasion, scientifically crafted to influence thought, emotion, and behavior. They don't just sell products or policies, they sell beliefs. Stay with me. Let's talk about the school to prison pipeline real quick. Stay with me. The school to prison pipeline, I see you, Kiki. The school to prison pipeline remains a harsh reality for Black and brown youth, driven by exclusionary discipline, from suspensions to arrest that disproportionately affect those students and pushes them towards the criminal justice system rather than educational opportunity. We know this. They used to tell us. They used to use test scores from 3rd grade to determine how many Black boys were going into the system. We knew this growing up. They were using 3rd grade, end of grade test scores to determine how many Black boys were going into the system. All right. One critical force reinforcing this trajectory is music and media, which often portrays Black and brown youth through negative stereotypes as violent, criminal, or overly aggressive. Research shows that repetitive exposure to these images in music, TV, and news shapes social perceptions, priming biased expectations and fueling punitive responses in schools. This cultural framing does not stop there, y'all. Movies, shows, and news routinely depict Black characters in criminal roles as perpetrators rather than victims, further solidifying biased narratives in the public imagination and contributing to systemic control over these communities are perceived, over how these communities are perceived and treated, over how we are perceived and treated. So here's my urgency to teachers and administrators in schools and parents. If negative advertising, propaganda, and media campaigns have been used to shape entire generations into believing destructive lies about themselves, then it's only right that we use the same strategies with care and intention to plant new, liberating beliefs in our students. This is essential work for growing and transforming Black and brown communities. The school can't just be a place where information is taught. It has to become an experience that reprograms what students believe about who they are and what's possible. If the world outside teaches them scarcity, violence, and inferiority, then the world inside the school must teach them abundance, creativity, power, and love, and on purpose. School is the only place where young people have to go by law every day, approximately 7 to 8 hours, 8:30 to 3:30, 6 to 8 hours, depending on the school. It is the school's job to do the work of counteracting what's happening in the public world's media and images. It's the school's job to do it. Now, what does that mean? That means embedding belief into everything they see, hear, smell, and feel. Slogans like greatness lives here, right? Or hope is our superpower, printed on posters, murals, t-shirts, and classroom doors. Visuals of Black and brown leaders, thinkers, inventors, artists, and freedom fighters covering the walls instead of generic clip art. School affirmations recited daily that affirm resilience, brilliance, and unity. Playlists curated by empowering hip-hop, R&B, and inspirational tracks playing in common areas. So the sonic environment lifts the energy. Let me stop right here for a second, because I have worked in schools where they play music in the hallway. They say, we want to make the school fun. We want to make this a place where students, love to be. And so in the righteous attempt to make the school fun, they play music in the hallways. But the same music they play in the hallways is the same music that's being used to enforce the negative stereotypes about who Black and brown children are. And so what I try to encourage schools is don't just play music, right? Build a playlist that reinforces the belief that you want students to have, whatever that campaign is. So if that campaign is greatness lives here, then build a playlist that only reinforces greatness from Black and brown students. Or whoever your student population is, build a playlist that reinforces that so that you are using every sensory opportunity to embed this belief into their consciousness. Here's another thing too. Don't forget scent. Schools don't do this often. Schools be smelling all type of ways. Trust me. In my office at the school that I was just contracted with, students used to come on my room and say, it just feels so good in here, right? The temperature, the smell, they would say it smells so nice. It feels so cozy. How it looked. I had carpet. I had a green couch in there, bean bags for kids to sit down, positive reinforced images around the walls. And students would come in there and just be like, the energy different in your room. And all it was they felt different when they walked in because their sensories kicked in and they saw a different experience, even down to the way we smell, right? So I encourage schools too, even scented rooms, right? And use psychology for this, right? We know that citrus is used for alertness. So if you want the students to be super alert, make the room smell like citrus. Lavender is for calm. If you got kids who are a little rambunctious, this is after lunch, or maybe not after lunch, they might get that itis. All right. But if you have a rambunctious group of kids, make the room smell like lavender. Right. Sandalwood is for grounding. So if you want students to be grounded in that thought process, make the room smell like sandalwood. All right. These can create conditions where learning feels alive and healing. The building itself, y'all, must feel like stepping into a different world. It's a different world than where we come from. And it should. School should feel like a different world than where we come from. Kiki says balance is also important, though, a little yin to the yang. I'm a firm believer in the middle way. We must find balance. And so what I tell, to Kiki's point, I have a statement. I say, I come to give you what you believe, what you want, so that you'll want what I come to give you. My brother gave me that statement a long time ago, but it's directly connected to marketing, right? So maybe your playlist of all great songs maybe isn't necessarily fun for the kids at first, right? And so you want the kids to adapt to the playlist. So maybe what you do is in the beginning of the year, you do 6 songs that are directly connected to that belief and 4 popular songs that are popular, but don't counteract the belief you're trying to sell. All right. And then as the year goes on, you wean those 4 out and you replace them with more of the songs in the playlist. But start with what they want, right? That's going to give them that vibe. That's going to have them because they know it. And while they're getting what they know, then go ahead and put what they need in with what they know. We know this is the good mother syndrome. I call it the good mother syndrome, right? Mom knows that the children don't always like the vitamin. So what she do? She crushes it up. She puts it in the oatmeal. Also want to make this point. I love that. So Kiera says you can play the beat without the lyrics. Or they can create their own. I love the creative factor of students creating their own lyrics, especially after they've had this new belief reinforced for them, especially if you can use this opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to give a reward to a student who writes the best 16 bars that reinforces our school belief. Remember that the goal here with conditioning the mind for success is being intentional about what you want the outcome to be, what you're trying to teach and reinforce for students. The other side of that is to be careful about the idea of just playing the beat. And not to go too deep into that scientifically, because I could, but I will let y'all do your own research. Research information around beat frequencies and what beat or instrumental frequencies do to the bodies of people based off what frequency that music is on, right? And this isn't esoteric. This isn't me being too deep. This is real scientific knowledge about the frequency of music and how that frequency changes the body, which is why they tell you to listen to classical music, because the frequency of classical music is a very high vibrational frequency that pushes students towards growth and learning. So be careful about the idea of just playing the beat. The frequency does have an impact on the psychology of the minds of people. All right. But like I said, y'all, the building itself should feel like you're stepping into a different world. One where staff and students get to choose. Right? Live in this world of affirmation. They get to choose whether they want to live in this world of affirmation, protection, community, love, and inspiration, or go back outside to a world that too often offers the opposite. Every hallway, every word, every sensory touch point should preach the same truth. You belong, you matter, you are powerful. Yes, yep, Kira Sanders did a great job of illustrating the power of music on the psychology of the human being. Now, y'all, imagine a school wasn't just a building, right, but an experience. From the moment students walk through the doors until the moment they leave, every detail, what they see, hear, feel, smell, experience, reinforces the school's core belief. Whether the slogan is "Greatness lives here" or "We be Rose," which is a slogan I helped build and establish at a school last year, the entire environment becomes a living affirmation, right? The walls speak with murals and posters. The hallways move with music. The classroom breathes with scents that foster focus and calm. And the daily rituals remind students that they are powerful, protected, and purposed. This is just a snapshot, but the work of really designing the school experience to be another world for students is essential, intentional, and it gets deeper, right? And so you may need somebody to help you guide through the process. I help schools design this type of student experience, right? Whether the building itself becomes the teacher, and every interaction reinforces the culture where you want students to grow. So that's what we're putting in. All right, y'all, let's get to the challenge of the week. Now, before we get into the challenge, I will say there's much more to this work. So what I've done for you is I've explained to you what building hope or social impact campaigns are for my business. I've connected it to advertising and propaganda, right, to show you the science of how this same strategy is used to influence human behavior. We've went over how it's been used for our people or against our communities, Black and brown communities, to foster the prison to school to prison pipeline, and to force, Black and brown communities into purchasing and buying decisions, even fear framing to get us to take, this COVID vaccine. I've explained all of this to you, right? And that's giving you the importance of why it's essential to do the work. I've given some strategies of the work, right? How you can affect the smell of a building, how you can affect the sound of a building. But it's much more to it, right? Building out an experience in a school that really reconditions the student to believe what you want them to believe. And I call those social impact campaigns. Now let's get to the challenge. Now for the challenge, y'all. Each week I initiate a challenge for us connected to the topic of today. It is important that we leave the inspired thought to produce action, right? Growing up, I was always told that knowledge is power. When I was in college, a man told me that applied knowledge is power. So in that spirit, I will be intentional in these lives to always challenge myself and to give space for you to challenge yourself as well, right? This week, we're going to check how we build belief. And I want you to remember this: advertising, propaganda, and media shape entire generations through repetition, visuals, and experiences. If they can do it for profit and control, then we can do it for liberation and growth. Again, if they can do it for profit and control, we can do it for liberation and growth. So here's the challenge. I want everybody to tap into the challenge. Those who are still with me on Instagram, here's the challenge. Let's tap into the challenge. First thing I want you to do is write down one powerful belief you want to instill in people around you, your students, your team, or even your family. Write down a powerful belief you want to instill in people around you, your students, your team, or your family. Now, the second part of the challenge is create a slogan. Create a slogan and turn that belief into a short, repeatable slogan or affirmation, something people could say out loud or see on a wall every day. Take that belief and turn it into a slogan, right? A repeatable slogan or affirmation, something people could say out loud or see in a hall or on a wall every day. Now, the third step to this challenge is I want you to choose a medium. I want you to decide how you want to reinforce this belief this week. Will you just speak it daily? Will you play a song that reflects it? Will you put it on a sticky note on your desk, or will you share it with your students? How are you going to reinforce this belief, right? A social media post, a t-shirt, a mug. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to reinforce this belief? And then lastly, I want you to track the impact, right? At the end of the week, reflect. How did repeating and reinforcing that belief change the energy in you and in the people around you? And that's important that you remember that. At the end of the week, right? How did repeating and reinforcing that belief change the energy in you and in the people around you? Now, though your intention may be to change, remember this, though your intention may be to change the belief or the energy of the people that you know around you, the truth is, right, it's the law of reciprocity. What you speak out of your mouth is creating energy for you. So as you affirm and reinforce this belief, you are continuously creating the effect of that belief for yourself. So trying to improve the life of others through how you speak and the language that you give them is simultaneously doing the same for you. Before we close out of the challenge, y'all, I want you to remember, beliefs don't just live in your head. They live in your words, all right? So if we are intentionally curating environments that change the belief for students, know that those beliefs won't just live in their heads. They will also live in their words, live in their environments. It will live in their habits and live in their energy. And when we build them with intention, they don't just work. Our students, our kids don't just work. They work and win with great care. We are counteracting what's happening in the world. And it's not one of them things where you can be like, man, it ain't that deep. Because that's what I'm gonna give you the truth. That's what I get all the time as an educator when I walk into spaces, often what I get because of the level of thought and intentionality that it takes to build this space. I get, it ain't that deep, or that's too deep. And I'd be like, what I want people to understand is that there are no days off for business advertisers and propaganda of the media. There are no days off. They intentionally have built TV, radio programming, music programming to consistently and intentionally and repetitiously instill the beliefs of the concepts that they want us to have about us. And if we are not intentional about doing that programming every day for ourselves and for our young people in schools, if we're taking days off from reinforcing that message, they just get another day ahead on young people. And not the fear frame. I don't want to be a fear framer at all, so I'm going to keep it short. Just look at what's happening in schools, from attendance to behavior to what's happening in the communities with gun violence. But to be a hope framer, think about how our communities could look if we intentionally did this work. If we built paradigms of environments that cultivated a new belief, that told a new story. And we can't take no days off when it comes to utilizing space and opportunity to build in Black and brown youth the efficacy, capacity, and belief that they are worthy, that they are powerful, that they are capable, and that they truly can be the masters of their fate and the captains of their soul. So for context, last week's session, so the professional development that we offer for With Great Care Hope campaign. So there's a piece of the business that offers professional development that is 4 different sessions, somewhere between 70 to 90 minutes per session, depending on the schools, how much time they have. But the goal is to come through, offer 4 PDs that teach you how to measure hope, teach you how to understand campaigns, help you build a campaign, and then help you build out a strategy for implementing that campaign into your school's processing so that the change is seamless. That's the work that we do. So last week, what you got was an intro to professional development session 1. This week is an intro to professional development 2, understanding building campaigns, which is why we call it building new beliefs in people. All right, let's close up with our Working and Winning segment for today, y'all. This is Working and Winning. This last segment, y'all, is called Working and Winning. If you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, then your body works and you have everything you need to win. All you need is the how. Here's a 4-step process, y'all, that we use to bring our dreams, plans, and intentional efforts into fruition. We will revisit them weekly to get to set new goals and intentions. Now, the 4 steps to the manifestation process are: number 1, vision and belief; number 2, speech; number 3, gratitude; and number 4, action. Now, let me explain them separately, then make space for you all to process what they mean. Number 1, vision and belief, right, is what do I see clearly or believe is possible for me this week? That's the question you're answering. What do I see clearly or believe is possible for me this week? Number 2, speech. How will I use the vibrant power of words to create for myself? Number 3, gratitude. Right? Gratitude is all about how will I lighten my spirit, find joy, love, and peace, and be receptive to all the good available to me. And then number 4, action. What will I do to move forward, move toward it? What is my work of this week? How will I track my alignment and purpose? Now, for those watching on live, you can think this through in real time. Number 1, again, belief. What are you believing on this week? What do you desire to see happen? Number 2, affirmation, right? Number speech, right? What affirmation can you speak over that belief? So it's creating an affirmation attached to that belief. And as you can see, right, this is a belief, then a slogan. So the manifestation process is a hope campaign that you run on yourself, that you run in your own mind, your own spirit, your own consciousness, so that you can transform your beliefs. If you haven't seen the thread line here. So number 2, what are you believing on? Number 1, belief. What are you believing on this week? What do you desire to see happen? Number 2, what affirmation can you speak that's connected to that belief? Number 3, right, we want to lighten your spirit. Why? Because if you're too bogged down with stress, difficulty, you cannot fly. You cannot be light enough to receive what, right, the universe has for you. So write down and share with us at least 3 things that you're thankful for this week. And I always impress upon you, those 3 things can be very simple. It can be thankful for breath. I'm thankful for air. I'm thankful for life, right? But what I would love for you to do is really sit down and think about the 1, 2, 3, 5 things that happened for you in the last week that you are really, truly thankful for. And despite the challenges that you may be experiencing in life, if you find 1 or 2 or 3 things, it will completely transform the way you saw the week. At minimum, it'll give you balance. At minimum. And then number 4, right? You've stated the belief that you want to see happen this week. You've put an affirmation behind that you're going to speak over it, right? And speak over yourself. You're going to hope campaign yourself. But then 4, we know that faith without works is dead. So we're not looking just to use our speech. We're looking to create actions that are attached to that belief and then follow that work. And so I want you to write down at least 3 things that you know you must do to move closer to accomplishing that vision for the week. And that is the manifestation process. Y'all, listen, if this hit for you, I want you to comment when I post this on Thursday. So I do this live on Mondays, Thursdays at 7 a.m. This will be released as an edited version on YouTube. So I want y'all to go to my YouTube and definitely like and subscribe. And you can watch the cleaner edited version when it comes out on Thursday. But when it does, right, if this really hit for you, I want you to go to I want you to go to YouTube and comment on that post. And then I want you to share this live with a brother or sister, an administrator, a teacher, somewhere at a school who could use this work in their school to help reframe and recondition their students for success. Also, if this message spoke to you, imagine what it could do to unlock the hearts of your team, school, or organization. So maybe you're not a school or organization who's looking for the full work, but maybe you want a keynote. You want me to come in and speak to your people about this work. Just know that I don't just want to speak at your event. I want to leave an imprint. I want to move spirits, and I want to leave people ready to work and win with great care, right? So bring me to speak at your next event, retreat, or leadership session. You can just basically go into my DMs here, type the word speak, and I will follow up and we'll get started on the process. Now, for those who are just ready to live big, who are ready to start moving with clarity and conviction and care, just know that I got you. I'm also a master certified professional coach, and my group and one-on-one coaching programs are designed to help you align the mindset with the places you want to go, right? Come into a place of consciousness and awareness and then ultimately move according to your human design. And so you can explore coaching options with me. Just take the first step. Again, you can go into my DM, you can type the word coaching, and I will follow up to get the process started. Ultimately, y'all, I'm Yusha Assad, once again, recording artist, master certified professional coach and speaker, leader of the movement entitled With Great Care, where we don't just strive to do great things, we strive to do all things with great care, purpose, and intention. I believe that if your body works, if you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, then you can receive, you can work, you can move. And that's all you need. If you do that with great care, then that is your way to win. That is your pathway to winning. I also believe that the promise is coming and it's here. And through disciplined, intentional work and envisioning, we can get exactly what we were designed to get, move in the way that we were designed to move, and take over and lead the way we were designed to lead as people, as leaders, as executive professionals, teachers, parents, etc. Let's walk in that space. Peace.
The greatest things don't happen overnight. They take time and patience. So instead of waiting, struggle and be patient, 'cause greatness has been prepared for you.
They think it happens overnight, but greatness is a story. I couldn't settle for average, I broke it with it for glory. Moved about a placement, changed my address to victory. So when it's testimony, I'm really just writing history. They talk about the successes of life like it's a mystery. I disagree, 'cause for me it's a product of my decisions. Trusting in most ties, my first thought, and the rest of between staying humble and never asking for permission. I graduated from poverty,